We have been talking about this for 2 years already. For those who have not attended the previous lectures, you can always get to our website, www.buddhisttemple.ca. There are a lot of lectures in there, and there are also lectures relating to this, versus summarizing the parameters of the 8 consciousnesses. You can also get into YouTube. YouTube will have lots of information about my lectures on the 8 consciousnesses, just in case you missed out all these previous lectures. Because if you missed out all the previous lectures, you don't have the basic terminology to continue. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, because it's a Buddhist psychology that requires you to have basic understanding about consciousness. Just have a 5 minutes review. Our mental experiences will have external environments, matter, sound, smell, taste, and touch, and perception through the 5 sensory organs that we have. Arising. What is arising? When our sensory organs get in contact with external environments, eyes with matter, ears to sound, nose to smell, tongue to taste, and body to interactions and tactility, then all this perception would produce eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness. These are the front end. And then we have, after perception, we go through cognition, which is the function of the mano consciousness, the 6th consciousness. And the 6th consciousness would do a lot of various functions of the cognitive process, including interpretation, rationalization, intellectualization, discrimination, you name them, all these cognition process. All images of the past, present, and future, they all group together to be cognized. The first 5 consciousnesses, they cannot go to the past. They're only of the present. Your eyes cannot see yesterday. Your ears cannot listen to yesterday. So they are of the present. But the cognition is much more powerful and active, because they can even go back to past images of last year, year before, day before, all these previous images that you create in your consciousness. And this is responsible for many, many mental disorders that people have, like depression, fear, anxiety, jealousy, hatred, you name them. This is the cognitive process that we have learned already, the 6th consciousness, in detail. Then it also goes through the ego attachment, which is the 7th consciousness, the manas consciousness. And when it goes through the ego attachment, we start to personalize everything we imagine, personalize everything that comes into our consciousness without you noticing it. It's a subliminal kind of consciousness. Subliminal. It's not obvious. And we have just started on the 7th consciousness. This is just a review of what we have been studying. We have been studying this for close to 2 years already. And then the ego, together with the condition, of course, it personalized, and in the process of personalization, there's an arousal of emotions. And all these would be highly related to what? To the store consciousness, the alaya consciousness, storage of the present, the past, and probably of the future, of everything you have. That is just analogous to the disk drive, the memory of everything. We only not have this life, we have previous lives, and where did they get stored? When this body dies out, where did they get stored? Into the alaya consciousness. And that's a storage consciousness that we haven't started studying yet. We have just started the ego attachment consciousness, which is the manas, the seventh consciousness. We have started on the seventh consciousness. All right, this is a brief 5 minutes review, which is probably good for people who haven't been here before. That's what we've been studying that. And then, how do we study it? Because it's so complicated, so vast, and it's like an ocean of terminology and knowledge and understanding. How do we study it? We have 9 perspectives of looking at it. How does each consciousness perceive world, the external world, the object? We have studied that in the previous 2 lectures. And now it comes to modes of knowledge. And hopefully we can finish most of knowledge briefly. I'm going to go briefly. And moral nature and realms of its activities. In other words, now we're studying the seventh consciousness. How does our seventh consciousness gets to realize, gets to know what's the mode of knowledge? It gets to know something. We already have studied how our ear, nose, tongue, sixth consciousness, how do they know something? How do they believe in something? How does our ego believe in something? How does our ego see things? And what's the moral nature of our ego? And where is our ego active? And some consciousness are not active in some realms. Of course, you have to know what realms are, in the universal realms that we live in. All right, let's take a look. Compared to the sixth consciousness, the perceived objects, remember the sixth consciousness perceive all states, all external objects. The Buddha classified in 3 states. Object as perceived in reality, objects distorted by imagination, and objects out of imagination and illusion, imaginary. The 6 consciousnesses have all of these external objects. The 7th only have objects distorted by imagination. We already have examined that in detail last time. So, perceived object, the 7th consciousness, the second one. It distorts everything by your own imagination. In other words, when you see things, you see it with an imaginative eyes. Sometimes people call it, you see everything with your own lenses. You have your own internal commentator. Everybody's internal commentator is different. Depends on your background, depends on your habit, depends on your karmic energy. All right, that's the perceived object we have to study. Most of knowledge, how does the 6th consciousness get to know external world? Through direct perception, through inference. If the inference is right, of course it's the right postulation. If the inference is wrong, it's fallacious. It becomes fallacy. And then also we get to know the external world through knowledge from saints, from trustworthy source. How does the 7th consciousness get to know? The 7th consciousness work with tainted lenses already. So the 7th consciousness always postulate things, everything, all phenomena, with its own lenses. So it's always fallacious. Because your ego is always, because you consider everything from your own perspective. And when it's from your own perspective, it's through your own imagination. Some imagination may be more correct than the others. Some postulation will be more correct than the others. But you always work from your ego, from the self-centeredness. We've been habitually doing that with our ego since many, many lifetimes ago. So our modes of knowledge, we start with something that is already fallacious, out of imagination. You may not realize it. It's out of your imagination. All right. Moral nature is indeterminate. Because sometimes your ego attached to doing good things. Sometimes your ego attached to doing bad things. Not always bad, not always good. So it's indeterminate. Although it is indeterminate, it's the what? It's impure indeterminate. In other words, this kind of indetermination is still not the real you, not the pure you. It's still an impure you, which is egoistic, it's indeterminate. All right? So, we have three types of knowledge, getting to know, right? Direct veridical perception pertains to the first five, and inference pertains to the sixth and the seventh. And when your inference is wrong, is fallacious, then it pertains to the seventh consciousness, fallacy. You may not acknowledge it. No, how come everything I think about is a fallacy? Because it's out of your own ego that you think about it. It's out of your egoistic mind that you think about it. When you go less egoistic, when you are very altruistic, when you have learned to be altruistic, you want to get rid of your ego. You're in meditation. You always think that I want to purify myself, leading towards enlightenment. Then you are not as egoistic. Then your imagination, you're gradually out of the egoistic imagination. That's when you are practicing the spiritual transformation. You're following the Buddhist teaching, or whoever saint who is practicing in the same way. Then you're getting yourself out from fallacy. Say in your meditation. In our meditation, what did we learn? First of all, we learn to be neutral. What are we thinking when? How does our mind works when imagination? We don't attach to external objects anymore. We only have the breath, training ourselves to be more neutral. But attaching to the breath is still an egoistic attachment. But that egoistic attachment is just a tool to train us not to have our minds wander egoistically into wholesome, unwholesome, indeterminate. It is just a tool to help us to put our egoistic mind under control. That's just a tool. It's just the ship that brings up to Victoria. When we get to Victoria, we got to step on shore, leave the boat, leave the tool. That's just a tool. Where does our seven consciousness, manas, perform its activity? Remember, the sixth consciousness are active in all the three realms of existence. The first five are most active in the lowest realm, plus the first dhyana heaven. But the first dhyana heaven, which is this realm, you don't need the tongue, no taste, because it's not the same kind of food, and the nose anymore. So the realms, you're going to have to know what the three realms are. For those who have been here listening for a long time, you know what are the three planes or the three realms of existence. It's the Kamadhatu, world with materiality and desires, and Rupadhatu, world with materiality only, and Arupadhatu, world without materiality, only consciousness left. The higher you are, the higher your happiness. The higher you are, the more advanced you are as an existent sentient being. We are at the lowest level. We have the 6 paths of reincarnation. We always reincarnate life and death in these 6 realms: hell realm, ghost realm, animals realm, human realm, Asuras realm, and Devas realms. So we are in these 3 realms of existence. See, the first 5 consciousness, they are active, most actively in the lowest realm, Kamadhatu realm, world of materiality and desire. And the 6th consciousness, active in all realms. The 7th consciousness, active in where? In all the realms. Because even if you are at Arupadhatu, you still have that slight inborn, innate ego in you, the manas in you. Until you completely purify, then you are enlightened. That means it is consummated to a level that is enlightenment, nirvana. Then no more ego left. But before that, when you are when you are not yet the Arahat and the Pratyeka Buddha, you're not yet the Buddha or the Bodhisattva, you're still within these three realms. So, the sixth realms and the seventh realm, they're all active in the three realms of existence. The higher you are, the more you dropped off all the preceding five consciousness. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the taste, the body, and tongue. In here, there's no more body left even, only consciousness left. In here, you still have a body, but there's no more desires. What are these desires? Desires for pursuit of materiality, desired very obviously between men and women. Sexual desires, desires for fame, for reputation, for satisfaction of the egoistic pursuit in us. So we have all kinds of desires.